Let's turn to Media Watch. Emma James joins us, looking first at Venezuela, reactions online across social media. Of course, the situation there going from bad to worse. A referendum, 7 million people rejecting Nicolas Maduro's, the president's call to change the constitution.
Yes, that's more than a third of all the registered voters in Venezuela. And there is a lot of reaction online. The hashtags Free Venezuela and Dictator Maduro are just two of the things that you see whenever you look at anything relating to Venezuela. Now, this image is one that's been shared quite widely and seems to really sum up what a lot of people feel. People of the world, help us, because a lot of Venezuelans believe that this issue really hasn't got as much attention internationally as they would have hoped and they believe it deserves. Now, what they will be pleased about is that the White House has now spoken out. Sean Spicer, the press secretary, giving a statement saying that the White House condemns violence by government thugs in Venezuela against protesters, and they're calling for free and fair elections. Now, Mr. Spicer saying that this referendum, although it was unofficial, was an unmistakable statement in condemnation of the ruling regime. So very interesting words to come out of the US and very strong ones too. Meanwhile, the very literal fight on the streets will continue. As this tweet, which was posted last week, hints at, there have been more than 3 months of rebellion against tyranny, as they put it. Many, many demonstrations on the streets, really very dramatic images, very colourful images too. Looking elsewhere, The Guardian has actually done a sort of a show reel, if you like, of all of the shields that protesters have created. They actually took their inspiration from protesters in Ukraine when they were rising up. And it shows that some of these protesters are going out armed, which is an interesting thing to draw attention to. They also talked to some of the protesters, one a young man who lost a kidney when he was hit by a water cannon, showing that there are real strong impacts to these people who go out on the streets. Now, amidst all the colour of that, there's some plain ugly brutality too. This video was tweeted by opposition leader Maria Corina Machado last week, and it shows one single lone man being beaten up by what are apparently Venezuelan National Guard officers. And apparently this young man suffers from Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism, which really makes this very brutal, very vicious beating all the worse to take a look at.
Striking him with the edge of the shield, thrusting it down from head height.
Absolutely.
That's almost an attempt at murder.
Well, whether he survived this or not, I don't know. But in the face of all of this brutality, it is unsurprising that Venezuelans are leaving the country in unprecedented numbers. The UN Refugee Agency says that asylum requests have soared 52,000 already this year, whereas last year there were only 27,000 in the whole of 2016. And of course, those are just the official asylum applications, not necessarily all of the people who've actually left the country.
Indeed, the border quite porous. You can get through quite easily, can't you? We'll keep obviously across that story very in a detailed manner in the news. Let's move on to a lighter story. A very famous British sci-fi programme, which has been around since I was a kid, has proved that sexism isn't dead. What's happened?
No, sexism is very much alive and kicking. It doesn't come as that much of a shock to a lot of us, I have to say. But it is Doctor Who that has caused the controversy this time around. A very famous sci-fi series. It's one of the BBC's biggest international successes, really, sold around the world, and it does inspire passionate followers. Now, they this weekend unveiled who is to play the 13th Doctor, and it is a woman, Jodie Whittaker. She said in response that she feels completely overwhelmed by it as a feminist, as a woman, as an actor. So she is very pleased. Lots of people seem to be overwhelmed too. Colin Baker was a previous Doctor Who.
I remember him as Doctor Who.
Indeed, so do I. He said, well, I never. The BBC really did do the right thing and let the Doctor be in touch with her feminine side as a father of daughters. Result. Now, that's a lovely reaction, as is this one in the Independent newspaper, written by a man who says he is thrilled that the new Doctor Who is a woman. He says, we've finally broken the TARDIS's glass ceiling. If you can suspend belief to accept a body-changing alien time traveller, then you should be able to accept that women too can be heroes.
Indeed.
But apparently lots of people can't accept that. Many, many tweets along the lines of this one. Doctor Who, Doctor No. This man claims to have watched every episode since it began in the 1960s, says it's wrong on so many levels. Sad to say, no more Doctor Who.
Gotta get out more, that guy.
Absolutely. This gentleman saying that the BBC just gave into pressure. Doctor Who is a man like Spider-Man and Superman.
Oh, come on.
Exactly. Merriam-Webster, the online dictionary, has pointed out that doctor has no gender in English. They often get involved in these kind of Twitter spats when they happen. Lots of people posting sexist jokes like this one, implying that because she's a woman, she won't be able to park the TARDIS properly. And this one too, exclusive look inside the new TARDIS. And of course, it is a kitchen. Even some women are getting in on this too. Lara Dawn Nicholson says the Doctor is a Time Lord, as already mentioned by many, not a Time Lady. Not everyone in agreement, though, and some really kicking back against the patriarchy. We've taken your Ghostbusters, Star Wars and superheroes and Doctor Who. Nothing is sacred. We will defile it with our womanly hands, which I think is a marvellous reply. This one too. Oh, great. A female Doctor Who. What next? Female real doctors, female pilots, female women. And it's nice to see that there are plenty of men tweeting their support for the idea of a female Doctor Who. Why not? And as this Twitter user points out, there are still plenty of places that you can get to see white men in sci-fi movies. Final word on this. This gentleman, Noel Clark, was the first male companion to a Doctor Who. He says, people asking how I feel about it being a woman, the same way I feel about women being women. Fine.
Well said, sir. And like I will say, surrounded by two women here, I feel the same way. Emma,
very
thank
wise.
you. Thank you very much indeed, Emma with Media Watch, and Kate with The Business. Great to see you too. Stay with us. More to come here, of course, live from Paris.